Hi, everyone. Welcome to Milestone 7 of the Data and Research Methods Project, organized by the National Student Data Corps. My name is Lauren, and I am a member of the NSDC project team. In this video, we're going to walk through milestone number 7, which is found in document C of your project packet. Milestone number 7 is about testing our hypothesis. This milestone should take you about 4 hours to complete. So here we're going to get deeper into our data analysis, picking up where we left off in milestone number 6. This milestone is going to be very self-guided. Your next steps will depend on the research question and hypothesis that you developed last time. But by the end of this milestone, by the end of document C, you will have identified at least 4 main insights from your research, which we're going to then use to develop some data-driven recommendations for the mayor. So let's look at task 15. Here we are developing a research plan and we're continuing our analysis. This is a process that is often overlooked by researchers, but it's a really important one. So it's good to get into the habit of creating a research plan. At this stage, we need to identify what the next steps of the process are going to be. So your research plan should include a list of all of the steps that you're going to need to test the hypothesis that you wrote down in task 14. So for example, do you need to create more pivot tables with multiple variables and compare and contrast our ideas? Do you need to learn more Excel formulas? Do you need to establish statistical significance in your data? Maybe you want to explore other data sources or do a bit of extra research for greater context. So depending on the focus of your project, you're going to maybe want to bring in some additional resources, maybe additional data to supplement your work. If you're doing something that is a longitudinal study, you might want to do a time series analysis. You could look at previous versions of this pulse survey from the CDC. If you want to look more at the relationship between demographic details like race, gender, you might look at the census data. So these are some external resources that together you can combine and strengthen your overall analysis, but I want to emphasize that it's not a requirement. You can complete this project just with this data set. The other thing is don't be afraid to go back to milestone number 1, do some additional desk research at this stage if you want. Your analysis up until now may give you a different perspective on those resources. You can start to combine ideas and do some exploration there. So all in all, give it some thought what you need to do next. I highly recommend that you create in this document a structured research plan. What do you need to do and in what order? Be specific as possible, especially if you're doing coursework and other things right now. This will help you stay organized and on track. Note that all the work that you do in your research plan should some way connect back to your hypothesis. It's really easy to start even now to expand outwards and start thinking about other things. Try to keep your question narrow. I put in here some examples of things that you might want to do in your research plan. Totally, it very much depends. So please adjust these as appropriate. When you're done, check them off your list. Now that you have a research plan, you know what you need to do next. Start checking off these items, dive deeper into the data, and come back when you've reached some preliminary conclusions or come up with some new insights. I want to emphasize, and this is a really important hint for you all, do not get stuck in your research. It would be very simple to spend forever in task number 15. I would give yourself no more than 3 hours of in-depth analysis, additional research or reading, experimentation. Even if it's hard to stop. The point of the DRM project is to show you the whole process for data research. I promise you 3 hours will be enough. Okay, don't go crazy. Don't go crazy. So I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to pause here. Come back when you're done with your research. Come back when you're done with task number 15. Just 3 hours is enough. When you're finished, we'll come back and work on task 16 together. So I'll see you in a bit. Good luck. Welcome back to Milestone 7. You should now be done with your research plan. You should have completed some additional research. And we're now at this stage when we're going to jump into task 16 and we're going to identify some concrete findings from the bulk of your research. So go ahead and review all of your findings so far. Basically, what does your analysis reveal? I've included here an article on how you can turn this massive amount of work that you've done into concrete and meaningful insights. So give that article a read. When you're ready, I would say jot down no more than like 4 major findings from your work. And the way that I would define a finding is when you're combining together 2 or more data points. So for example, you could say something like group A, which is defined by this characteristic X and Y, has a vaccination rate of 20%. Whereas group B, which is defined by this other characteristic, has a vaccination rate of 40%. So those are 2 different combination or 2 different data points that we're pulling together. Okay. Remember that your findings should all relate back to your initial hypothesis. Answer that question that you had about remote work. Your findings, importantly, can either support or they can refute or negate your hypothesis. But when possible, you want to tie your findings back to that specific business need that defines this project. So in our case, we're talking about remote work and whether it can be impacting our local town's economic and social needs. Keep in mind the interests of your stakeholders, the mayor, and it will be easier to pick out those key findings. So as you draft your findings, make sure to use this chart here. Again, I put into this space areas for you to write down supporting data points and connection to your initial hypothesis. This is just a good way to keep your brain structured so that everything ties back to your research question. As a hint, I want to say, remember that there is a difference between correlation and causation. This is a great resource, a really good video in here about how you can identify one or the other reason for your findings. Don't automatically assume a relationship between variables. Consider if there are external influences at play, and if you suspect that there might be another external influence in play in your findings, you can always note that. That's super helpful as well, right? So work through this task. Come back when you're done writing out all of your findings, and then we're going to wrap up this milestone number 7 together. Hi all, welcome back to milestone number 7. At this stage, you should feel like your research project is really starting to come together. You've done this very difficult work of analyzing the data, and we're now going to start to synthesize all of this information in milestones 8 and 9. So as you know, we are now done with document C. We're going to head over to document D next time. Before you do that, as usual, please consider completing the survey, which is linked here at the bottom of document C. Your responses to this 5-question survey will help us understand what maybe worked well for you or what didn't when you were working on milestones 6 and 7. This helps us build better projects for you all in the future. So take a look at this material, and when you're ready, head over to document D. We're going to start working on summaries and final visualizations. Project is coming to a conclusion. We're going to wrap it up in the next document, and we'll see you all soon.